Well, all right. So welcome to Neighboring 101. This is actually the 22nd session of this, and this is August 22nd, 2022. So that's quite a combination of numbers. So thanks for joining in. This is kind of the live class where we talk to different guests and leaders from all over the nation about this neighboring idea and how they're putting it into practice locally. And I know many of you have shared emails and comments with me about things that you've taken away from these classes and put into action yourself, or have gotten other people organized to do. So that's great to hear that type of impact when you hear about what other people are doing in their neighborhoods. And that's really what it's all about. Hey, just to, we always begin with a couple of a local example and usually some announcements. And so I'm going to give you a local example real quickly here. This is from downtown Springfield. If you're familiar with this area, you know this lot has been empty for decades. I really can't remember in my lifetime when there was anything on this lot. And this is just immediately off the square in downtown Springfield. Well, a young lady that lives downtown and goes for walks, her name's Lindsey. She would walk by this empty lot every day and thought, this is my neighborhood and where I live, and I think we can do better than an empty lot. And so she contacted the University of Missouri Extension Office. We were able to help her with a grant to provide all of her resources for her idea. And our horticulture specialist went over and gave some good advice about the idea that Alyssa had, the planting and the soil and what could be done. And so this empty lot is now being transformed. And I know Alyssa said at the beginning she thought this was a crazy idea, but it has really brightened up the corner. And I just wanted you to see the transition from those empty lots. And this is kind of a funny part of it. Man, she's had neighbors and people that live downtown work on this. The lady on the left that's driving that post for the fence, she's an opera singer. She sings for the Springfield Opera. The young lady on the right who did the pattern in the ground for the S for the different colored sunflowers, she's a graphic artist. So it involved all sorts of people. There's Alyssa with some wire clippers, I think, putting up some signs asking people not to walk on the space, and she's got some irrigation going from a neighboring business. And so the area, despite the drought, despite she probably got started a few weeks late on this and the drought, but it's starting to bloom. And just wanted you to see some of the pictures about how that lot is being transformed and beautiful at sunset. And here in about 2 to 3 weeks, it'll probably be full height and full of sunflowers. I'm sure a very popular place to take pictures and things. And she's had a couple of oddballs pop up too, but different is good. And there's a good example of it. So just bringing that to your attention. If you're in the Springfield area, check that out downtown at the corner of South Street and McDaniel. And I really commend Alyssa for the effort that she's put in on that. A couple of quick announcements. We do have a national coalition team together of about 40 people working to promote National Good Neighbor Day. The purpose is kind of work together to really launch this as sort of a national focus and get more national attention. We've had some meetings, and I'm going to, as we get going, I'm going to drop in the chat the link to all of our notes and the Dropbox that has all of our marketing materials. If you would like to use any of that or jump into that in any way to help promote National Good Neighbor Day, you are more than welcome. We'd love to have you. The more, the merrier. The theme we've picked for this year is Start with Hello. And so we're trying to keep it simple to get people engaged and connecting with their immediate neighbors. So again, watch for that in the Dropbox. And then, of course, next month in September, we'll be talking a lot of the time, maybe not the whole class, but about Missouri Good Neighbor Week and some of the things that are going on with that. So You know, we always say when anyone's talking about neighboring, we all benefit. And both of those efforts are designed to get people talking and thinking about what it means to be a good and engaged neighbor. So that's the whole purpose. Well, enough for me today. You can visit with me anytime, but we have two guests that are busy with other things and they're hard to catch up with. So I want to give them the time to share with you today about their good work. First up is Karen Harris. Karen actually lives here in Springfield, Missouri. She's an area coordinator, I think is the right title to use. She can kind of introduce herself some more when she gets rolling. Sort of an area coordinator with this neighboring movement that's known as Lasagna Love. What a fun name for a group. That is awesome. And they're doing some really good work. And I wanted to have her explain what that is and maybe even how you could get engaged with Lasagna Love in your area. And I know this was a recommendation from someone else in this class who has participated with this organization, and they wanted everyone to get to learn more about it. So Karen, you have co-host abilities. It is all yours. Thanks for being
here. Nice to meet everybody. I am Karen Harris. Like David mentioned, I am local to Springfield. However, I was born and raised outside of Atlanta, Georgia. So you will most often find me wearing red of some variety because I'm a diehard Georgia Bulldog. Mizzou is great SEC school, but I will always remain loyal to.
We can still be friends, Karen. It's okay.
Yeah. I have been married to my husband almost 22 years. He's a recently retired Navy veteran. He's done a little combination of service, and we have 3 teenage-ish daughters. One in college, one working, and one getting ready to start her sophomore year of high school. So we're busy. One of the things that I've always been raised to do is to help. My dad used to say to ring the doorbell with your elbows, insinuating that helping people, and as with strong Italian heritage, Italians speak with food. So food is an obvious choice. It's a great way to help somebody for a lot of reasons. And I happened in another group onto a situation where somebody told me about this cool organization where you could deliver lasagna to somebody local in your community. So I checked it out and decided it was the right mission for me. I'm always looking for ways to help. I'm also an active participant in one of the local dog rescues, and frequently you'll find an extra dog or 2, most of the time puppies, at my house. That was my COVID gift, where I found myself at home more, and a great way to give when when you're in the office you can't. So that's a little bit about me. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Lasagna Love. It was founded in 2020 by Rhiannon Min, and she is a mom who saw a need in her community and felt a little unsure with COVID on how to help. Lots of things were changing. Lots of regular resources for people that had a need were not available. So it started by probably a mom's Facebook group. And she just decided that she would cook a few extra meals and offer if you have a need. And her need stipulation is open-ended. And that maintains part of the process for Lasagna Love. Your need can be a short-term need, a long-term need. We don't really care. Lots of people share why they have requested a lasagna, but we fulfill all requests, and we'll try and fulfill a request from the same family once every 4 weeks. However, in our specific area, we have a backlog. We don't have enough people cooking yet, as we do requests. So So that's something I've been working very hard on as the regional. I'm a local leader within the Springfield metropolitan area. I have requests that go down like towards Mount Vernon and Miller. I've even had a few as far down as Branson and over to Niagara. So it kind of varies. So the goal for the organization, you go in, you request a lasagna, and somebody gets back with you when they're available. And they ask basic things. Do you have allergies? How many people are we serving? And we provide lasagna or an alternate like one dish meal to fit your family's needs. So it varies. You'll branch out. Lots of people cook macaroni and cheese if there's small kids in the house. It varies. So far, I've only cooked lasagna or baked ziti. And sometimes we cook them fresh and hot. And so we bring it hot, maybe at dinner time. Other times we might bring it where it's ready to bake. The organization has delivered to homeless shelters. They've helped team up with churches to feed an area of need, as well as individuals. Currently, Lasagna Love is in all 50 states, Puerto Rico, Australia, and Canada. So in about 2.5 years, they've grown a considerably amount for the number of volunteers, as well as the number of people served. So far, we've got about 30,000 volunteers, and we generally serve about or deliver about, I think the number was 6,000 lasagnas a week. Wow. National Lasagna Day is the last week of July. I know who picked a hot oven dish for a July holiday, but Lasagna Love kind of took it over as our own and partnered with Carrabba's and a few other national chains. And we delivered 10,000 lasagnas that week. That's a lot of lasagna.
That is, I mean, I love lasagna, but that is a lot of lasagna. That is a lot of legwork.
Yeah. Lindsay, I see your hand is raised. Do you have a question?
No, that was applause.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm applauding the 10,000 lasagnas because that is amazing.
Thank you. So lots of people ask, what do you have to do to be a lasagna chef? That's what we call our people. You just sign up with your information. We pull data once a week, and your local leader of whatever variety we are will send out matches. We match people based on distance and who can cook what type of lasagna. If we have somebody who's has an allergy, we want to make sure we match them with somebody who's comfortable cooking for an allergy. And if not, we try and match them. So when you go in to say that you want to volunteer, you can say you want to do it once a month, you want to do it one time, you want to do 2 lasagnas per month, whatever. You set your parameters, and you can go in, and maybe you want to deliver every other week, but then you realize you have a week of vacation. You just go in and say, hey, I'm not available. I have volunteers that when they have extra time will try and help our backlog, and so they'll say, hey, can you send me 2 more that are in the same area as the current request, or send me 3 all in the same area. Try and maximize resources, because once you're making one lasagna, it's really easy if you have the financial resources to just make 3. It doesn't take a lot more time. It's just a matter of having extra stuff. So I will share with David and in the chat some links to Lasagna Love if you're interested in joining. I'm also going to share a few YouTube links if you want to hear a few other people talk about Lasagna Love. We have a huge need in the Springfield area. I would love if any of you guys are interested. You could try it once and realize maybe you don't have a lot of bandwidth. You could partner with a Girl Scout troop, of any kind of. I actually had a retirement community partner, and they did it as a community outreach. And so they made the lasagnas and I did the delivery because they didn't have the ability to do the delivery. So any kind of organization that is interested in helping, will take all of the help we can get, because then we could take care of people in this area a little faster. And I know some of you guys live in other areas. It is nationwide, so there's a need all over the country.
That's wonderful. But so if someone's wanting to be a volunteer, they can just sign up on the website, and do they have to bake you a lasagna first to prove that they can actually do it, or
Nope. And we don't have any stipulations on what recipe you use. We ask that if you opt to deliver more than just a lasagna, you tell the person you're delivering to that this is above and beyond the norm, so that we're setting equal expectations across the board.
Okay.
Generally, we encourage our chefs to have an open conversation with the people they're cooking for. So if they're expecting a lasagna, they get a lasagna. If they need to have something else, some people can't have nightshades, which are tomatoes. So people might make a white lasagna.
Okay.
All kinds of different things. There's lots of different ways to make a lasagna, and we give the chefs free reign to do how it works best for them.
Well, any health or safety concern issues since?
So there's some training you do when you start up as a new chef. And they give you instructions on safety, as far as, tie your hair up, wash your hands, clean kitchen, no pets in the kitchen while you're cooking. They tell you to make sure if you're delivering it hot, how long it needs to be delivered within a time frame. If you're delivering it cold, make sure that, all those like regular safety things as far as temperature. We deliver the lasagna with an ingredient list, so that people are informed of what you've put in it as well, especially since everybody makes a lasagna a little differently, and go from there. But Lasagna Love does a pretty good job of, with their training videos, to give you what you need. And then there's resources within, everybody has a leader that they can ask questions to and things like that.
All right. Well, I'm sure some people sign up to do it because they just love to cook, and some people sign up to be a volunteer because they want to help others. But I know one of the things that compels people sometimes are when they hear the stories, the impact of what is going on. And Karen, I suspect you probably have a story or two at the top of your mind about the impact that Lasagna Love has made on somebody's life or family.
I do. I delivered a lasagna a few weeks ago to a family that didn't have a working oven. And when I reached out to her to set up a time that worked for her schedule, she seemed very appreciative. But after the fact, I delivered it. She thanked me and said that the kids have been relying on the schools for meals to get them through extra meals, but a lot of times it's a sack lunch type of food. And I, of course, was providing a hot meal, and I make an over generous size pan, because lasagna is better the second day than it is the first day, because it's delicious as leftovers. And I know that as long as they have a way to store it and reheat it in some capacity, or you could eat it cold, that then I might be not only feeding them, one meal, but a second meal. But so I was giving her kids a warm meal. And I forget what she told me their alternate dinner was going to be, but something that made me cringe because I realized that her family was just basically getting by, probably in a sense that the adults maybe weren't eating as much as they should because they were trying to make sure the kids were getting what they need while the school was out.
Wow. So very
lots of people with health issues, a variety of different things. Lasagna, one of the things Lasagna Love is it's a no contact delivery. So we of course communicate and set up an expectation for delivery. And then I basically tell somebody that I'm on the way. And that I will ring the doorbell, place the lasagna, ring the doorbell, and I'll text them a picture of it on their doorstep, because I might put it, like if they have a table, I might put it on a table, and remind them if it's hot, please bring a towel or oven mitt, something. It's still warm on the bottom, even if I deliver it in a box in a double tin, it still could be warm.
Yeah.
So
one additional question that's and there's several people in the chat commenting about this and how they see it could be helpful. Echo has a question: is there a way to search to see the needs in our immediate geographical area before signing up as a chef?
I don't know of a way for people who are interested in joining. It would be something that you could join and set up an expectation that you would deliver once, and then you will get information for your leader, and you could communicate to try and get an idea of what the needs are for your area, to balance the needs versus what you have the ability to help as well.
All right. And I guess
I see Susie says that she's in St. Charles, and Lasagna Love has been helping people in the flooding, and that she has some needy families as well that they've been referring. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. I know that the rain in Missouri hasn't been equal, as I feel like we're just now getting to the point where we're not so dry down here.
Yeah. Karen, one other question: do you have any goals for the local chapter? I mean, you have a certain number of volunteers you're trying to hit, or you're whatever goal that you might have for Lasagna Love, I guess.
My goal is to have our backlog caught up and maintained, so that we can deliver lasagnas faster, like inside of a 30-day window from their request point. Obviously, I'd love to be able to deliver to all of the requests every week, but I would be happy if I could just come back, to get you within that 30 days. I have a few people, especially in the outlying areas, that have been waiting a few months. And Lasagna Love has a habit of being spread by word of mouth, and so a lot of times we'll deliver, and I'll see 3 new requests come in, and I'll look at the address, and it's something that's familiar, and I look to see, and it's a neighbor of somebody who we've recently delivered, which makes sense, as a lower income area is
Sure.
likely to have more than one occupant per se.
Sure, people will tell a friend or a family member or something. Sure.
Yeah. This would be a great thing for a sorority, any kind of group organization, especially young people that maybe don't want to deliver, but you could partner if they could make it, and then you could deliver it, or any way you can stretch your funds. And as the local leader in Springfield, I'm always willing to partner with any organization that doesn't have the time or the ability to cook and deliver like real time. If I have somebody who's also making them and I can run some of the logistics to help more people.
All right. Well, Karen, I really commend you for the time that you're putting in to coordinate this. Obviously, it's a labor of love for you, and it's a really tangible something that a person can do. You know, sometimes some of the things we talk about seem a little more theoretical, but this is certainly very tangible, and I commend you for doing that and for sharing with us today about the effort. And maybe people online can't volunteer, but maybe you know someone who can, and I encourage you to help spread the word about that. Before we jump to the next speaker, any last words, Karen?
No, I think that what you guys are doing is a great thing. Any way you can help your neighbor or help your community is a step in the right direction. And I encourage you to bring your kids, your grandkids, your neighbors, your nephews, nieces and nephews, and get them to volunteer or give back to their community as well as just you. It's a great lesson for them. And many of your kids, at least in the Missouri area, if they're high school age, are working towards volunteer hours for school. And all this time could be logged for hours as well.
Oh,
Not that they should be doing it for the hours, but it's an added benefit for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea. That's a great point. Well, thank you for that, Karen. Thank you for the update. And I know you mentioned you had some links that you might drop in the chat. Please do, and then I'll share those out in emails as well. But people will have them in the chat. And I've seen some conversation in chat. Just to me, some people on this call already sharing this to their homeowners association and already sharing this to other people that they think need to know about this. So, and I mentioned to you, we'll get something in the Springfield Daily Citizen here in a month or two as well, really focusing on the need for volunteers. So
yes, I appreciate that. Of course, if you know somebody, like Sally mentioned, if you know somebody or Susie, I'm sorry, mentioned, if you have a need or know somebody that has a need for this, feel free to also refer them to Lasagna Love. I don't want to discourage people who have a need. But I also need chefs. So for every one referral that you send another person, and it could be in another area, even, as Lasagna Love, of course, is national, and there are lots of areas that have a need for chefs as well.
Well, thank you. That was great and fun to learn about, and look forward to staying in touch and seeing how this develops and expands locally.
Yes, I am too. I appreciate the invite. And if anybody has questions, follow-up questions for me, David, you can share my email with them as well.
Okay.
And I'll try and get back with them also.
All right. Will do. Well, folks, you may notice that today's theme has a bit of, or today's meeting has a bit of a food theme to it, as we jump from Karen and Lasagna Love to our next speaker. Lindsey Pinkston is zooming in from a long ways away. She is the executive director of the Highlands Council in Issaquah, Washington. And Lindsey and I met at the Neighborhoods USA conference that was in Little Rock, Arkansas. We sat in on most all of the award presentations that people gave about their local projects, and I think learned a lot from that. But also I got to see several presentations that Lindsey was giving in the awards category, and really great ideas about stuff they're doing there in Issaquah. And one of them really grabbed my attention and interest. And what she's going to share is, it's a pretty big idea. It's a pretty big effort that they undertake. But keep in mind, you don't have to do it to that same big level in your neighborhood. I think it can be scaled to just your neighborhood or your community. I won't steal any more of Lindsey's thunder. She recently was promoted to the executive director position, which I was so thrilled to see, and appreciate Lindsey taking the time to present and share with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I am going to try to share my screen here. Okay, is that working? Everybody can see that?
It says you're being shared. It's still a blank screen, but it says you're being shared. So
Okay, so, oh, it's.
there you go.
There, okay, just slow then. Give me a holler. Presentation then. So I'm sharing a program today that we created last summer called Global Grub and Groove. And like David said, it's very scalable. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we go through. But before I start talking too much about that, let's see if I can, there we go. And that's a picture of Issaquah Highlands. We are a suburb of Seattle. Just going to tell you a little bit about our community to give you a feel for what we are looking at here. So we have 12,000 residents in our community, and that's a third of the population of our city of Issaquah. We were designed for live, work, and play. So we have businesses, office places, lots of parks, and we have a unique organizational structure that most other neighborhoods don't have. We're 60% white, but we do have a large Asian and Latino population. We have a variety of types of families here. So we have single parents, singles, married couples, families with kids, we have it all. So when planning, programming, and events, we have to take that into account. Our organizational structure consists of the HOA, which is a more traditional HOA. We have fiber internet that goes into each home. We have a charitable leg that provides scholarships to the community. And then we have what's called Highlands Council, and that's where I work. And Highlands Council is the community building leg of our community. So our mission is to foster the development of a caring community committed to service, diversity, stewardship, and well-being. And we are a small nonprofit organization governed by a board of trustees, and we just have a staff of 6, and 2 of us are full-time. We do all the communications for the community. This is a picture of our newsletter that goes out quarterly. We do all the events and programs. We have community groups. We manage the brand for the community, and we operate our community center, which is called Blakely Hall. So we have an advantage in that we have our own. That brings us to looking at Global Grub and Groove. Okay.
That was your jingle, maybe?
Oh yeah, did you hear something?
Yes.
I wasn't sure if that'd come through. That was a music sample from one of our events last summer.
Now we are still on the I think and maybe this is the intent. We're still on the initial slide, the Grub and Groove. I don't know if there's others that you've been advancing through.
Yes, you've missed quite a few slides.
I thought I know you were giving a general intro, but I thought the other slides weren't showing up. So
yeah, let me see if I don't share my sound, that will help. I'm going to stop and reshare. Bear with me here.
No, that's fine.
It's not the end of the world if you don't get to see the slides, but I think they help with the visuals, and the pictures are super
yes,
cool,
it would be close to the end of the world, Lindsay. You had great pictures and a great presentation.
Yeah, I love all the pictures from the event, so they really bring it to life. Anything now?
Yes, I'm seeing. Yes, now it's the why the Grub and Groove summer of 2021, and a row of pictures across the bottom.
Okay.
Now your share screen has gone away. Whoops, and you're, let's see, I'm trying to unmute you. There you go.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay.
Technology.
So, yes, I can. I'm happy to share this PowerPoint too with David to send out afterwards. So if you missed some of the slides and you really want to see them, I'll be sure to share them. So it just comes to, why did we decide to do Global Grub and Grub? So our community was in lockdown. Seattle was locked down longer and more strict than most of the country. So we were really feeling it here. The kids were in remote school right up until last summer started. We had a really long winter season here, rainy and drab, and so that was tough. People couldn't get outside, and there was no indoor restaurant dining. So community members were feeling isolated into their homes. They wanted to be able to do things. People of all demographics were feeling it. It was across the board that they wanted something fun to do. We were also in a time of high racial tensions. We had a rise in crime against Asian Americans right here in our city. And there was just becoming a greater awareness of systemic racism in Issaquah. So we wanted to do something that also made a difference on that front. So we thought, how do we bring people together for fun in a safe way while also honoring the diversity in our community? And from that came our first Global Grub and Grub, which was a celebration of Juneteenth, so last June. I'm not going to play this because I don't think the video will work, but we have a recording of, this is our mayor and our board president who talked about how this is the very first Juneteenth celebration ever in Issaquah, which is a really big deal. And so it was a really nice touch to have them there. Move on to the next screen here. There we go. So this is our performer. This was the very first event we planned, and we hadn't even thought, we didn't know if it would become a series. And so we just thought, let's put a great musician together. So that's Michael Powers. We put a giveaway together. So each of the events, we kind of thought, well, what can we do to really share the culture, share something educational. So for Juneteenth, we gave away free red Fanta drinks because that's a traditional drink of Juneteenth. And then we also had an information sheet about the holiday that our volunteer had put together to help educate people. There's kind of a look into the audience from the back. This event actually made the Seattle Times front page, which is a very big deal for our little community in Issaquah.
Yeah.
We made the news. It was very exciting. We got a lot of accolades for the event, and so the event ended with a big conga line, which was really fun. And we have a little video. I don't know if you're able to see it. I know you can't hear the music very well.
Yeah, it's running. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just really fun. It was a fun night in community for people. So then we decided that it was so successful for the first one that we would do additional events through the summer and celebrate additional cultures. So in July, we did a celebration of Americana, and we hired a cover band, popular cover band that people could just get excited about, dance to. We added the element of art. So we hired an artist who did a community art project, which is the goat. If you can see them painting the goat on the left side of the screen. Our community is, goats are very iconic here. We have goats that come in and mow our lawn, our hills every summer. And a few years ago, the goats got out and ran down the street in a herd, and it was called the Great Goat Escape. And we made international news. We became a meme in Japan, and it was very exciting. So we love our goats here. So we brought in the goat theme, and then so people contributed to that, and those guys now live in our community center. And then we also did a take-home art project, so people could get involved. We gave out free cupcakes that our Safeway, which is located, a grocery store located in our community, provided. They donated those, so everyone got something free. And then the third event we did, moving on, we did a celebration of Indian Independence Day in August. We do have a large Indian population here in Issaquah Highlands. So this one was very exciting because it was planned by a youth committee of 5 youth. You only see 4 here, but they came together and worked with me to plan it, to secure all the talent, to decide what to do. We decorated the sidewalk with Rangoli style art, which is a really great way to add a lot of decoration to a venue without spending much money. We just had to buy the chalk, and the youth did that. We decorated with Indian flags, just making it festive. And then we did some art projects. We did a Rangoli art project and clay diyas, which are traditional Indian art pieces. We hired a henna artist, and she was great. So many people got to try henna who had never tried it before and get to experience that traditional piece. We had Bollywood vocal performance. We had traditional Indian dances. And from the vocal performance to these traditional dances, we had Indian classical music. All of these performers performed for free for our event because they are connected to our community in some way, and really just wanted to share their culture with the larger community. And then in September, we did a celebration of Mid-Autumn Festival, which honored our Chinese and Vietnamese neighbors. And for that, we had traditional Chinese dances, which are just beautiful. We had a live art demonstration. We had a called Jinghu Rock performance by world famous Lucy Wu. Our community was very excited about getting her. So I hadn't heard of her before, but you learn from the volunteers who are the big names, and I guess she is one. We had a Chinese juggler, so people got to experience that. We had a Vietnamese vocalist who sang beautifully. We had a dragon, the traditional dragon dance that went through the crowd, which is very cool. A kung fu demo. We gave out mooncakes, which are the traditional food of Mid-Autumn Festival. And then we also had a lantern craft. And because in that last September, COVID was respiking, we didn't want to have kids gathered around a table to do artwork or crafts. So we made, you can see in the wagon there, we have the little bags. So we gave them out with instructions so that people could just do them with their family where they were sitting on the lawn. And then, so those were the 4 events that we did last summer. And they were chosen based on volunteers that stepped forward wanting to share their culture. We were lucky enough to own our venue. So we have the Village Green Park, which is right outside our community center. And we have an artist on staff who made this beautiful artwork, which actually mimics the Village Green Park. So you can see the aerial view. She's won awards for this artwork, so I love to show it off. But we have this iconic tree at one end of the park, and then our community center, Blakely Hall, is in the bottom left corner. And we did do some fundraising for this. We sold this T-shirt with the artwork on it to raise money to help fund the event. So which brings us to the financial, what are the financials for this? How much did it cost? If you're thinking about doing something like this in your own neighborhood, how can you afford it? And the main money outlet went to entertainment, the decor or the cultural experience, and the hands-on art activities. So you don't need all of those things at every event. We love to have them when we could, but we didn't have them at every event. The basic funding sources are organizational programming budget. So because I work for an organization that has a budget, we do have money to spend on community programming. but not a lot. And we also utilized grant funding, which was really helpful. Non-monetary sources of income for this were, we used volunteers. A lot of volunteers worked on the program, helped plan it, ran it. We also created partnerships with different groups that helped pay for it, and in-kind donations like the cupcakes from Safeway. And then we did some fundraising. So we did t-shirt sales, some other ideas. So we are continuing this program. So this summer we did have sponsorships. So our t-shirts now have logos printed on them from sponsors who helped pay to contribute. We got grant funding again this year, and we're actually already grant funded for next summer. So the program has just been so popular, and it really took off that we've already secured the funding for next summer, which is really exciting. And this is a look at our actual expenses for those curious on what we spent money on. We save a lot of money because we own our venue. So if you have a local park that you can use for free, that saves a lot of money there. We did have our grant funding. We repurposed and borrowed a lot of decor so that we didn't have to spend money on that. But you can see, so, it varied from month to month where we put a lot of our money. In September, we spent a lot of money on the live entertainment, and mainly because we had a lot of grant funding left that needed to be used. So we were able to really splurge there. But you can really place money where you need to, and borrow and use volunteers. Like for the live entertainment for the Indian Independence Day, we didn't pay anything for the entertainment. That $100 was for snacks and drinks that we provided them kind of in a courtesy space. So it can really scale to different budgets. And one of the reasons for that is that we had a lot of grassroots involvement in it. So we have a cross-cultural committee here, and that's where we were able to source our volunteers from the different cultures. So we have different cultures that serve together on this committee that help make us a stronger community and more inclusive. So we kind of already had that built in. You don't need that to find volunteers, but because we had it built in, we were able to act quickly last summer. We used the pastor and volunteers from a local church who provided our sound equipment and support, and ran that through the event. So that saved a lot of money there. The mayor offered support, and our board president was volunteered. And then we also had a lot of local officials that attended and showed their support. And I think that really helps with our grant funding. So to be able to show pictures of elected officials attending the events and having a good time. All of our performances were by local professionals and volunteers, and a lot of those were youth. We did not pay to bring anybody in from out of town, which was a really nice feature and saved some money there. And then we had local artists that contributed to bringing those cultures to life through the art. And then each event supported a different local food truck or restaurant, and those were all owned by someone representing the culture. So for Juneteenth, we had a barbecue truck that was Black owned. We had an Indian owned restaurant, a Vietnamese owned food truck. So we just were very conscious of supporting business people of the culture we were honoring. To make it more accessible and welcoming to everyone, we partnered with our local YWCA Family Village to provide rides. Our community center and our Village Green Park are up a very steep hill in our community. So walking is possible if you're in good shape, but for a lot of people, it's not an option. Those in a wheelchair wouldn't be able to make it up the hill on their own. So we had a van. We reserved parking for those who needed a closer spot. And we made sure that the events were completely free to attend. We offered free water refills at all of the events. But the entertainment, the activities, and the giveaways were always free. So the only thing for purchase was food. And we welcomed people to bring their own if they chose to. So we did see a lot of benefits to our community through these events. We combined the different elements, the food truck, live entertainment, hands-on art, and other activities with that community aspect of the culture, the volunteer opportunities, having a safe venue, providing a welcoming vibe. And so that really produced great results for us. People had fun, felt connection, felt a pride in their community, and it did offer some healing after some of those high racial tensions and COVID, to be honest. Just a few little quotes from the community. Is the PowerPoint keeping up there?
It is.
Okay, good. Because these are some of my favorite pictures here. So this is Kimberly explaining the significance of Juneteenth and the red Santa to our youth volunteers so they could help pass that message along. There is one of our youth volunteers and her mom doing the talk art. This is a volunteer who is talking about she's done traditional Indian dance for her whole life, and she got to get up and talk about it and the significance and what it meant to her. People felt closer to their neighbors, and then the youth, the parents and the youth were just super happy to have a place for their kids to perform and to be able to see it and invite their families, especially coming out of COVID. It was an extra special treat to have an outlet for what they've been practicing. So it's just some of our these little kung fu guys were the cutest, and most of them live in our neighborhood and had never been able to show their neighbors or their friends what they do. So it was very cool to see that happen. People just loved it. It's no pressure. You could just come, sit, relax, enjoy without having to watch commercials or deal with a lot of stress. Is it sustainable? Yes. Now it is an annual program. Like I told you, we had it this year and next. Because it uses volunteers and it's really very scalable. And the basic elements remain the same through different cultures, that you don't have to reinvent the wheel each time. We intended to do it this summer and next summer, whether we got grant funding or not. The grant funding just determines how elaborate we get. So it's nice to be able to have that option to either go big or go small and know that it's going to be great either way. It involves a lot of volunteers, and it's really important to us and to me that our volunteers get something back from what they put in. And so from this, we had about 30 volunteers. They were involved in planning, in the pre-event prep, and then they supported on the day of. And they really were able to, especially our youth volunteers, got a lot of kind of development and experience out of it, with event planning, public speaking, stage management, leading a team, negotiation, partnership building, problem solving. And I have examples of all of this, but I'm just going to skip through these because we're getting low on time. But you are always welcome to reach out to me because I could talk about our volunteers for hours and how great they are. So we had just a lot of good involvement there. We built partnerships with some of our local businesses. So this was Safeway, donated the cupcakes. We had this artist partnership, and she came back this year. She's doing 2 of our events this year. The church partner was just really invaluable with their sound support. This is a resident business owner who performed a traditional song. So how can you do it? If you're interested, this is replicable. I think this is a great model that can be expanded. This picture shows one of our most popular activities at each of our events, and that is the bubbles. And that's actually my son, who's now known as Dr. Bubbles at the event. And he just walks around with the bubble machine, and the kids dance and laugh and have just a great time. So that is super cheap. We buy the bubble concentrate and mix it up the day of. So we're even saving money there. So the event plan is simple. We're not trying to do anything crazy with these events. It's not overly produced. The decor is flexible. The budget is scalable. And it's really saved with a lot of community and volunteer involvement. And then the community and the volunteers, they feel ownership of the event too, and they invite their friends, and they have that pride that makes a big difference. So just kind of a quickie, if you wanted to do it, what are the steps you'd take? You start with a culture and a volunteer. So one big learning we have is that you want to make sure if you're celebrating a culture, you have a volunteer from that culture to help you with the planning. Then you just determine your budget, apply for grants, seek sponsorship. And so this summer we had a lot more in-kind donations. For instance, our last event was a fiesta to celebrate Mexican culture, and we have a little fitness studio at the base of our hill, and the manager is Mexican, and so they purchased piñatas and ran piñatas for 4 different age groups, the last one being adults, and they had such a blast with being in community and interacting with the community and showing they were fun, and they sold a ton of membership. I could not even believe their numbers at the end, but how much they actually sold at the event because people just had fun with them.
Yeah.
You schedule the activities, so figure out what you want to do and get those scheduled. But maintain focus always on honoring the culture. So what is special to the volunteers? What do neighbors need to know? Things like the red Santa or the handout for Juneteenth. What do neighbors need to know about that? We had a Bastille Day celebration this year, and we learned early on from one of the volunteers that it's not okay to say Happy Bastille Day. So one of the things we taught at the event was, how do you say Happy Day to someone who's celebrating Bastille Day? And so those are just kind of important things that those volunteers can add to the event. And then involve the community. Get as many people involved as you can, because they help keep the cost down and really drive the involvement. Okay, so quick recap. Last summer, we had 4 community events, 1,700 people attended, 1,600 meals were served, and 200 volunteer hours were worked. And that led us to countless smiles, laughs, and memories created. All right, so just more pictures because I love all the pictures from the event. So thank you. And then this is me, my contact information. I'm happy to answer any questions or help you get a program like this going in your own community. If you want to, just reach out. I can send you everything I have.
Keep that contact information there for just a little bit, and
Okay.
I'll be sure and share it out too. But I just want to say again, this is one of the great things about the Neighborhoods USA conference. You'd hear presentations from that impacted neighborhoods of 100 people and neighborhoods with thousands of people, and some that were completely volunteer driven and some that had executive directors. But you could learn great lessons and ideas from both of those. Some that you might scale up to your own situation, and others where you might have to pick and choose. And I loved, well, obviously Lindsey's highly organized, as you can probably tell from that presentation, and to pull all that off. But initially when I came back, I mentioned this to a neighbor, and the neighbor kind of chuckled and said, well, we'd probably just serve hamburgers and hot dogs at each one, meaning what other nationalities are there here right around us? And you might kind of think that first brush, but then, or blush, I guess. But then as I, walk and meet other people in the community and learn their gifts, you discover, wow, there's more diversity around me than I realized. You know, there's a Chinese family down the street. Then you start thinking, maybe I can't do something like this every month, like Lindsey has pulled off, but maybe this next summer, our neighborhood picnic could have a cultural theme of some sort, or how does it apply to your situation? I think just that's part of what I loved about Lindsey's presentation, was just eye-opening awareness of those other cultures and how to incorporate them and have an educational component about that as well, as along with entertainment. I just think it has applications for all of us. So I just wanted to add that at the front end, but hopefully some of you have some other questions you'd like to ask as well. Jump in. This is
I was very thorough.
You are thorough. But I just, you know, I love the celebration of the different cultures, and how can we do that in our own neighborhoods and our own context? I think you've given us a good roadmap of some things to think about. And like I said, you know, even the volunteers you use and having volunteers from that culture, that's very, very important.
And if this is something that appeals to you, I am happy to talk about how you can make it work in your own community. I feel really passionate about being able to share cultures, and because we really promote diversity in our own community, but I'm happy to help work with you on that. How can you find grant funding? I'm happy to work with you on that as well.
Did you apply for one of the, I know AARP does some community grants. Was that one that you guys applied for, or was?
So no, we don't qualify for AARP grants here because the city is not, has not filed their paperwork. So that's a long story, but no, that is not one of the grants. Yeah, we mostly get arts and culture type grants.
Okay, all right.
And there are a lot of those out there available that people just don't know about.
Well, I think it's a lovely idea, and I just, you know, again, maybe your own neighborhood is predominantly German. We have a lot of Germans in the area, and Italians and things. I mean, that's a fun way to celebrate those cultures, but then also the cultures that may be more overlooked or less prominent, but still in your community. This is a fun way to include them. And it really is about that capacity building and developing, you know, volunteers, getting them involved in something like this so they'll help in other activities too. That's a big component of it. I love the volunteer base that you've built doing that. All right, well, please, any other questions? I don't want to cut anybody else off. I know I see several people on there. Lisa has done some similar types of events in the St. Louis area. Others that want to ask a question before we let Lindsey go.
All right, well, I'll expect lots of emailed questions later then.
Okay, well, I'll hope so. And we'll meet again next month on September 15th when we're talking about Missouri Good Neighbor Week and some other components of that. And then in October, we're going to have Richard Kite on for that class. He is with the University in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and he does a national podcast, but he's also written some important stuff about the importance of third places. And if you don't know what a third place is, you'll find out in October. And if you already know what a third place is in the community, you'll know why it's neat that we've got Richard Kite coming to share with us. So good programs coming up, and look forward to having you join us for all of those. But Lindsey, thanks again for being here. And Karen as well. Appreciate both of you presenting today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you very much. I will looking forward to talking to people later.
All right.